Hi, Catherine. This is Ms. Branniger, and I'm just going to record your feedback here. So I think that I have more of a chance to give you more thorough feedback on your first draft. So let me read your questions here real quick. When citing a short story from a textbook like The Lottery, is it supposed to be cited by paragraph or page number? Very good question. And the answer to that is page number. Even though the textbook is your anthology, Norton Anthology or portable literature book, you'll still cite it with the page number that it comes in on and use the author's last name. So it would be with A&P Updike 304 or Jackson 2. Okay? Number 2, the citations I used for the academic journals are by paragraph numbers. Should that be cited as Servo, PARA3, or Servo 3? Okay, really it should be neither one of those. Now this one is right if you used APA style, but you're using MLA style, Modern Language Association style in this class. So it's getting close to being right. It would be Servo, comma, PAR period 3. Or it would look a little bit like, and let me do that here on your rough draft, it would be like this. Servo, comma, PAR, and whatever paragraph. Okay? So that's what it would look like. Okay, so let's go back to your other questions. Do you find my thesis statement too vague? If so, would it be complete with information about all my sources used? Okay, let's check on that when we go to read your rough draft. I'll be looking for vagueness of thesis statement and whether it will be complete with the information about all your sources. I'm going to check on that for you. I couldn't find the bibliography for the feminism chapter you assigned, and I used it in my paper. Is there a possibility I can find out from what chapter or from what book that chapter was excerpt? Yes, ma'am, you can, and I will be glad to send that to you when I send this rough draft back. I'll be glad to do that. Good question. Finally, is a 3-sentence conclusion too simple for such a thorough research paper? Okay, that's another question. I want to read your conclusion first before I answer. Okay, but you've done a really nice job here on all of your questions, so I have to give you a 100 for your questions. Very nice job. Okay, let's go into your rough draft now. All right, one thing I noticed is up here with your page number, MLA style, this is a little bit different. So with your page number, let's see if what you've done on page 2. Yeah, what you want to do is go back into this, so I'm double clicking on it, and you want to format page number, you want it over more to the right hand side. And if I took your page number off completely, let's take them off so that now they shouldn't be on any of your pages. And let's go into insert. Okay, insert page number, and then it's going to give me a choice. I want it at the top of the page, and then I want plain number 3 at the top of the page. Okay, so I'm clicking plain number 3. Now I've got the number, and I'm just going to type in your last name, Hogan, and space, and then double click back onto the body. So now I have page numbers in the right hand side. Okay, you need a title here at the beginning, and your title should be unique to what you've discussed in your paper. All right, so let's begin here. The horrifying scene change in The Lottery by Shirley Jackson leaves the reader pondering the implication the title gives. This short story is based in a small village populating about 300 people. Jackson does a magnificent job lulling the reader into believing it's an ordinary story about prizes and fortune. Traditionally, the entire village gathers in the square for their annual lottery on June 27th and stands before a shabby black box containing slips of paper. Each townsperson draws a slip of paper and waits until everyone has drawn to see who received the black dot. That family is forced to draw again to see who will receive the second black dot, And that person from the family will then be sacrificed for the town's crops by being stoned to death. Okay. From, I guess, from about here, where you said paper, to about here, maybe, and this is just a suggestion, but as I read it, I'm thinking you could probably cut down a little of that and even summarize it more. You know, you've got the issue here with the shabby black box. You could even call it just a box, you know, for a summary, a box that contains slips of paper. And then you could talk about, you could say, but think about this section here that I've bold or highlighted. Think about taking that and making it even more generalized, okay? Because that can just sum that up in less words. The story evolves around several themes: society and class, tradition and customs, hypocrisy, and family. Jackson develops the story using aspects of point of view, setting, tone, and character development. Okay. You've got a lot of literary elements here, and you say that Jackson develops the story using those. So I guess, let's go back to your question here. You say, down. Do you find my thesis too vague? Yes, and I think you probably do too, and that's why you're asking me. When you use the word develops, she develops the story. Sure, she does. Most of them do, and they do use these literary elements, but you've got several possibilities up here of something to put in this developing area that will make your vagueness a little bit more tight. So let's say she shows the theme of society and class, or she illustrates tradition and customs, or whatever idea you see about tradition and customs, or the idea about hypocrisy. Whichever one of these themes, or maybe two themes that you really, that speak to you personally. Okay? How does she use these literary elements to show? You could even get by with one of these themes, maybe the most important theme that you see. And that would really tighten up your thesis by doing that. Does that make sense? So take out the word develops and try to take one of the ideas, or two, but one should be enough. Take one of these ideas and insert it somehow into here so that Jackson illustrates the idea or the theme of blank, right, using these aspects. And I think that'll tighten it up a lot better. And then it'll also drive your paper, because each one of your paragraphs only has to show, for example, say if you wanted to use society and class and you had an idea on that, you'd want to show how Jackson uses point of view to show that theme, and then you want to show how Jackson uses setting to show that theme, and how Jackson uses tone to show that particular theme. So you see how that's going to really drive the organization of your paper, okay? All right, so let's look at the first paragraph of your body. Several examples of character development are mentioned throughout the story. Okay, Mr. Summers is a round, static character. He was in charge of the lottery and conductor at all civic activity, at all big civic activities, I think you mean here. So a little bit of proofreading to make sure. Men from each family drew the initial slip from Mr. Summers' box. Bill's wife, Tessie Hutchison, immediately creates an ordeal. All right, here I'm seeing some verb tense issues that you can make. You can make some changes here. Here you say several examples are mentioned. Okay, that's fine. Mr. Summers is a round character. He is in charge of the lottery. Okay, men from each lottery draw the initial slip from Mr. Summers' box. Tessie immediately creates. You see how I'm staying in present tense? You've got some of these present. Jackson shows. That's good. So let's try to keep these in present tense and follow that example throughout the rest of your paper. Let's see your quote here. You say, claims that Bill didn't have enough time to take any paper he wanted, Jackson 47. Okay, I'm assuming that came from page 47 in your textbook. If not, then you want to change it. But that's a good quote. You've incorporated it correctly, so good job with that. Jackson shows male authority through the relationship of Bill and Tessie. The women stand by their husbands and portray a female submission to male power. Portray a female submission to male power. Okay, I get that. When Tessie complains, Bill commands, "Shut up, Tessie." All right, here's some attention to detail. You want to take that period out here because you've got it here at the end of your parenthetical citation. Okay, so watch for that sort of stuff later on. All right, okay, the narrator of the short story is extremely detached from the story itself. So now you're talking about point of view, and I can go right back up to your thesis statement that you're going to revise and do a little bit more work on. But you have included that in your tentative thesis statement. So good job. So you're following, I can see that you're following a pattern here, and you've organized according to thesis. So good job with that. The histories of selected characters were told, and the narrator knew thoughts and feelings of characters. So let's stay in the first person here again, okay? For example, comma, the crowd was quiet. A girl whispered, "I hope it's not Nancy," and the sound of the whisper reached the edges of the crowd. This quotation tells you how quiet the crowd was, but allows the reader to be aware of character thoughts. That sentence needs some revision, and I think you can see where. There's one or two places. Sometimes, like in the lottery, however, a short story's effectiveness is enhanced by an absence of character development. And here you've cited Kirzner and Mandel, the book, so good job with that. It seems like it's one of the villagers telling the story, but taking no part in the chaos. Here's some attention to detail again on your citation. Watch that period and take it off, but you've done well except for that. Let's go on. I don't want to just read the entire paper, but I want to look here. The chapter Psychoanalytic Criticism shares Freud's input regarding the id, ego, and superego. The id includes all of one's secret desires, darkest wishes, and our most intense fears. Psychoanalytic Criticism 123. Good job. Shirley Jackson references the innate nature of the children in the lottery when describing the innate nature of the children. Something else, the innate evil nature of the children, the innate something nature, but I feel like there's something missing from that. We all have nature, and all of our nature is innate, but there's a word here that we need to think about. So think about what you're trying to say here just a little bit more, okay? Bobby Martin had already stuffed his pockets full of stones, and the other boys soon followed his example. Jackson is using the young boys in order to show the early impulses of children in this particular society. Okay? Maybe it's the innate impulsive nature. Maybe not. But that's what I'm getting from it right now as your reader. So again, look through this section again and think about revising it. The superego is contrasting with the id. Okay. Causing us to make moral judgments in light of social pressures. This short story actually uses the lack of moral judgments in order to enhance the boundaries crossed in human nature. The townspeople are so caught up in the game of the lottery. Okay, here, when you're referencing the lottery, you're not talking about the short story, so you don't have to put the quotes around it or capitalize it, right? You just lowercase t and lowercase l and no quotes, because here we're just talking about the lottery as the lottery itself. But the townspeople are so caught up in the game, and this wouldn't need a hyphen because it's not a compound modifier, it's a verb, that the characters do not even see a moral issue with killing a person for some crops. The title, The Lottery, very good. Now here you're referencing the lottery as the title, so good job. And you would need another comma here, right? Because the title, comma, The Lottery, is the largest component of situational irony used in this short story. Okay, I know what situational irony is, and you do. But you're writing this for a general layperson audience, so maybe explain what situational irony is here, and importantly, how does the situational irony go back up and connect to one of those themes that you saw? And that's why we want to be real specific on the thesis statement. Does this situational irony connect us somehow to Here you see you talk about the moral issue of killing a person. Let's go back up though. Does that have to do with up? One more. Does that have to do with the theme that you see of hypocrisy, our family, our society and class, our tradition and customs? So think about the theme that's evolving from your discussion here. You've got the body paragraphs that you've written. As you go back and read them, they're suggesting some kind of theme that really stands in the forefront to you. Okay? So whichever theme that is, that should win out over all the others. And so Jackson develops. And what about, let's say you chose tradition and customs, just for example, okay? Jackson shows the theme of tradition and customs in the story, using aspects of point of view, setting, tone, and style, etc., etc. What about tradition and customs? That's a question too. Is it... Now, I don't want you to use mine just because I'm saying it, but you could, for example, say Jackson illustrates the dangerous consequences of a blind obedience to tradition in the story, using aspects of point of view, setting, and etc. and so on. You see what I mean? So I've taken this bigger issue of tradition and customs and I've narrowed it down into a specific. And what Jackson thinks about tradition and customs. What does she think about all people? Now she's illustrated that by the lottery and by Tessie's, terrible fate and what the town does to her. But what do you think Shirley Jackson wants to teach the reader about tradition and customs? And that's what needs to be discussed right here and proven in the body of your paper. So those connections and those relationships, that's what you want to be focusing on as you move through the paper. All right, here's another section where I see we need some attention to detail on your works cited, okay? I'm going to go back down to that last paragraph because you have asked, right here, is a 3-sentence conclusion too simple? And I want to address that. Let's go down to that. Whoops. Shirley Jackson uses literary devices such as characters, setting, point of view, irony, tone, symbolism, and imagery throughout the story. Jackson is known for her shocking story turns and gruesome endings. The lottery is a horrifying mind twister, which causes the reader to reflect on the past. Okay, this is a little bit redundant, and I know you've probably learned in high school that the conclusion merely repeats the thesis statement, but it does something more, doesn't it? And what it does more is, now that the reader has read what you have to say, what more do they know here? And I think you're getting it in this last sentence. The lottery is a horrifying mind twister which causes the reader to reflect on the past. Okay, it's real general, but there's something that you're trying to say. Does it do more than causing the reader to reflect on the past? What did Jackson want us as the reader to do? Does she want to tell us something about tradition? Does she want to tell us something about customs? Something to do with one of those themes, the one that you really feel sticks out the most. So, which causes the reader to gain a greater understanding on the theme of blank. Okay, that's just a suggestion. I don't want to write your paper for you, but I'm just giving you ideas here. But yeah, I think this definitely does need some more content in that last paragraph. I'd also, like I said, let what you've written so far, read it again and let that shape your revision of your thesis statement, and also let it shape your concluding paragraph. Because now your paper's taken on a life of its own, and so what you've written so far becomes sort of this entity in itself, and you can read it and you can say, oh, okay, now that I've read it, I know that this is my main point, and that's your thesis. And then also, this is my conclusion. This is what my reader can walk away from after reading my essay. Okay? Right, works cited is on a separate page. Good job. And we've got Nathan's servo, Jackson's the lottery. This needs some more attention to detail right here. I've talked about this enough. And then this is your e-database, so that needs some attention. This one looks okay. Really, the underlining is more or less archaic. I mean, we don't have to do it anymore, so I would change that. All underlining is pretty much changed to italics now. Reading, and it's reading, reacting, and writing, so proofread yourself here. Helen Nebaker, you've got some attention to detail right here that needs some work. Okay, this is down here with volume, number, March, all this. This is all incorrect. Okay, go back to the folder that is, let me show you where it's located. Right here, the one that I left open for y'all. And then go into useful. And look at this, how to cite an article from an e-database. And follow this exactly. Okay, and then you'll have it correct. Because that's something I will be counting off for. Y'all need to learn how to do that. This one, same thing. You've got some issues here at the end that are incorrect. You've got this alphabetized correctly, except for feminist literary criticism, and I will send you here in this email. I'll send you the information on how to form that, okay? But other than that, I think you have got a really good start, and I think you know what to do now. You're getting there, and I look forward to reading the ending of your paper. I look forward to it. I've talked to you for 22 minutes, so I'm going to cut it short now. That's quite a bit. Anyway, I hope this helps, and please give me some feedback and let me know if it did help or not, and what more you would like to know, that sort of thing. And I look forward to reading your paper.